The Haunting. Chapter 1. The Mysterious Neighbor. I stepped out of the taxi and gazed up at the modest apartment building on Elmwood Street, the warm summer breeze carrying the scent of blooming flowers and fresh cut grass with it. It was a far cry from the crumbling Victorian house I'd grown up in, where nightmares became reality every night for as long as I could remember. The memories still lingered, etched in my mind like acid scars. The creaks and groans of the old wooden floorboards under unknown feet at midnight, shivering in bed until dawn. The perpetual feeling that something watched me through shadows. But now, this cozy two-bedroom apartment felt like a chance to erase it all, a clean slate where I could rebuild without the specter of the past. The building's worn brick facade welcomed me with a reassuring smile, as if sharing a secret only it knew. Inside, the realtor handed over keys and an application, her manicured nails clicking on the countertop. Best apartment in this complex, Emma. Just watch your back. Her parting words echoed in my mind like a warning. As I entered my new home, sunlight faded behind me, casting long shadows that danced along walls painted with vibrant hues of orange and red. Inside, time seemed to slow. The quiet hum of the refrigerator, the muffled voices outside my window, each sound weaving into a tapestry that felt both familiar and foreign. My bags were barely unpacked when the door opened across the hall, drawing me in with an unspoken invitation. A tall figure emerged, gray hair slicked back, face etched with deep creases. Mr. Blackwell. His eyes narrowed behind rimmed glasses as they met mine, their color shifting from curious to suspicious within a blink. We exchanged polite pleasantries, and I couldn't help but wonder why he moved in at the same time. The apartment silence was shattered by my phone's shrill ring. It was Liam, an acquaintance from work I'd connected with on social media. Our first meeting had been arranged for that very night, a chance to break the monotony of starting anew. Liam arrived promptly as promised, bearing beer and curiosity. So this is the place. He whistled at my digs before we settled into the living room. You've got character here. The hardwood creaked beneath his feet as he surveyed each room, an inquisitive look on his face. I'd always admired Liam's ability to find joy even amidst life's turbulence. He spoke of his own relocation, leaving behind a family tragedy in Chicago. There was camaraderie in our shared fresh starts. As night took hold, strange noises echoed from the walls. Muffled voices that sounded like hushed conversations, skittering sounds from upstairs, and an unsettling clinking of dishes at midnight. Over the next few days, events escalated. Books falling off shelves, lights flickering, eerie shadows darting along walls when I was alone. The apartment's character seemed to have taken on a dark persona. On my third sleepless night, Liam called, his voice a lifeline through the darkness. It's not just you, Emma. This place has a vibe. We agreed to investigate together during the weekend. His arrival Saturday morning found me staring at a toppled bookshelf and shattered dishes. He examined each room with an amateur sleuth zeal. On the dining table, a note in elegant script, "Find peace. Leave now." Intrigue piqued, Liam suggested we follow the mystery to its source. Mr. Blackwell, over coffee on his balcony overlooking the quaint street. He mentioned our reclusive neighbor often disappearing during the day and returning with an unsettling glow about him. I felt a chill at this coincidence, though he spoke it casually, as if mentioning the weather. Perhaps he's just an old soul. His gaze lingered when I asked about Mr. Blackwell's background. Chapter 2. The Unexplained. The days passed in uneasy rhythm, and my fascination with Mr. Blackwell grew. He was rarely seen, yet always seemed to know my comings and goings. One evening as I settled on the couch, an unsettling scratching sound reverberated from his side of the wall. Fingernails on wood. Liam's voice snapped me out of it. "It's 9 p.m. Let's talk to him." His knock was followed by Mr. Blackwell's measured response. The door creaked open, revealing a man with an ageless face and eyes that should have been frozen in time. In his dimly lit parlor, he gestured for us to sit. "I see you're troubled. You have questions," he stated before we spoke. He revealed a keen insight into my childhood, the house on Elmwood Street where I'd grown up. His information wasn't mere coincidence. "You've carried this burden too long." I spilled it all, from shadowy figures to unexplained noises that still lingered in dreams. With every revelation, his gaze seemed to bore deeper, as if trying to see my soul. Liam asked about the clacking sounds. Mr. Blackwell merely offered a knowing smile. Back at home, Liam fiddled with an old radio, attempting to tune into static. It crackled before he held it up. Whispers that sounded like children's laughter and pleas for help. We sat in stunned silence as night fell on Elmwood Street. "This is insane." I turned off the lights. Shadows shifted in the corner of my eye. A child's giggles echoed through the room, followed by a raspy breath that sent ice down my spine. Liam was asleep when an unseen presence nudged me from behind. Hands trembling, I dialed 911. Polished boots clattered on the stairs. Mr. Blackwell descending with an unsettling swagger. "I believe you've woken something," he said, his eyes flashing in the dim hallway light. "Stay put." He descended to the lobby and returned with a newspaper article from the late 80s. A photograph showed a family from Elmwood Street. A chill slithered up my spine as I recognized them. The Smith family. Liam's voice pierced through the door. "Emma, what's going on?" Mr. Blackwell passed me the paper. The headline read, "Tragedy Strikes Elmwood Street Family." It seemed they'd been brutally murdered in their home. A crime never solved, an eerie connection to my childhood haunting. My pulse raced as I tucked away the clipping. Blackwell returned the newspaper. "The Smiths died on this very day." A chill chased me up my spine as he spoke those exact words. The same night, I'd always felt something watching through the window when young. The air was heavy with an unspoken understanding. Liam pounded on the door, and I yanked it open, drenched in sweat. Together we inspected every room, but found nothing out of the ordinary. As we left, a gust swept in from outside, extinguishing the hall light, plunging us into darkness. A window shook violently, and whispers pierced the night. "Let me out." Shadows coalesced on the far wall, morphing into silhouettes. Liam gasped. I grabbed his hand. The door slammed shut behind us as shadows became grotesque figures. My childhood nightmares had followed me here. Chapter 3. The final clue. The article hung in my mind like a specter. Determined to break free from Elmwood's grasp, I approached Mr. Blackwell at dusk, clutching the paper in dread. His eyes bore into mine as I knocked 3 times, hesitating before entering. "Why did you let out?" The air was heavy with his enigmatic presence. "You sought me." He offered an envelope containing a photo of myself at 8, standing amidst shattered glass in my childhood home during that fateful night. The blood-stained room I'd always avoided in nightmares. A chill seeped through me as I showed him the photograph. "Your spirit is tied," he said grimly. "Find the truth to free it." Liam and I discovered a hidden crawl space behind my closet, where a child's doll lay amidst bloodstains. Clasping the doll, an icy wind engulfed us, lifting the floorboards. At the entrance, I found my 8-year-old self, crouched among shards of glass, weeping. Mr. Blackwell appeared with a small box. You must confront the past. As I descended into memories long buried, seeing the Smiths slaughtered before being thrown out of bed by an unseen force, he whispered guidance. In that moment, I freed myself. The darkness receded as Liam hauled me back to reality. Mr. Blackwell stood, a box clutched in each hand. His eyes held a mix of sorrow and acceptance. I released them. As the sun fled, a chilling laughter echoed from his apartment, an unseen presence that had haunted me since childhood. I looked up. Shadowy figures merged into the Smith family photo on Mr. Blackwell's table. Trapped souls finally at peace. In the fading light, he whispered, "Leave this place," before vanishing with their spirits. Our building shook, an unseen force departing. As we fled in his wake, he reappeared, box in hand. Time to end it. Within weeks, Mr. Blackwell had sold and left. Shadows faded as I slept on my last night. A wind swept me away into the darkness of my past. He gave the keys when he handed me a small, ornate box. Find peace. Outside his apartment lay an open window and a note. Goodbye. A child's laughter drifted from below before dissipating. Echoes of long-dead children, now free. We left Elmwood Street that morning, as I'd been thrown all those years ago. In the car, Liam realized he had Mr. Blackwell's box, an heirloom or a warning. Unnerved by these events, I glanced back at the building where shadows fled before me, finally silenced in the distance. A figure stood by the door, watching until night took over. The next day's post arrived, a key and another photograph. My childhood self standing with children I never knew, smiling as sunbeams illuminated us. At peace, I opened the box, a family portrait of love and loss that was no longer mine to carry. In each room where darkness had reigned, I'd find redemption.